David, thank you so very much for that wonderful introduction, and I want to thank David so much for his great work, and he's here with his bride today. I think you all have been married how long now? 24 years or so? But anyway, 28. All right, I'm a little slow. But anyway, I'm so honored to be with David, a dear friend, and I'm so thankful for his great work in starting the Illinois Fatherhood Initiative. And I'm so very proud that we're able to partner with David and this great organization over the years. And so thankful for Kevin and being president now and your great work and being president. And then Anthony also, who hosted me and coming in right over here, in fact, and he's a father as well. But it's great being with you. And then I want to say my good friend, I feel like I've known him for years now. When I pastored here in Chicago, I was able to watch Alan on TV, and he's better in person than on TV. And so honored to be with him and hearing his heart and how he was raised, and also being with young Kelly, in fact, and her dad, naturally, what we're doing today, and we named it after him, Ricky Birdsong. And I only met him one time, and it was when I was pastoring here, and I was chaplain for Northwestern, in fact. And I used to play football at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, that great basketball school. But when we would come and play against Northwestern years ago, I even had good games against Northwestern. But anyway, when I was pastoring here, it was tough back then also. And I would speak to them and they would go out, and I would just hope they would not get hurt against Ohio State and everyone else. But I remembered after a while they became very good, and they won the Big Ten. It went to the Rose Bowl, and so I wanted to tell everybody it was my fault that they won. And like last night, I wanted to say that I'm chaplain with the Kansas City Chiefs now for the way that they won last night, but I'm not chaplain anymore. But anyway, but I remembered Kelly's dad when he first came to be the coach there. He came down on the football field that day, had a Northwestern sweatshirt on, and he was so charismatic, and we just had such a ball together. He could have coached the football team that day also. But it's good to be with young Kelly, and all of you, the board of directors that are here. I'm so very proud of you and your commitment and your work. And then all of the fathers that we're honoring today, and even the young people that are not here that have written all of those great essays, and all of the schools that are represented here today. I want you to know that we're so very proud of you. And I'm honored to be here just for a moment and to share with you. And quite naturally, I share with people, I am CEO at the National Center for Fathering. And for the few moments that I have to be here, the CEO stands for Chief Encouragement Officer. I came here to encourage you today. But of course, being black and Baptist and an ordained minister as well, we could be here all day. But we're not going to be here but for a few moments. And I share with people, my pastor that trained me years ago, he used to tell me, he said, Kerry, a sermon or a good talk is like good sausage. You can cut it off anywhere and you got the same thing. And so we are not going to be here long or whatever. But anyway, I'm so honored to be here, but I did matriculate at that great citadel of higher learning, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and they always talk about if God isn't a Tar Heel, then why is the sky Carolina blue? But we don't win too many games these days. But the greatest thing that happened to me at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill was not going to bowl games, not rooming with a great linebacker by the name of Lawrence Taylor. He was a freshman when I was a junior. And I want you to know he's done some crazy things and not too great of things, but I want you to know he's still my friend, and as I visit with him, he's getting some things together. and all of that. But I think about it, the greatest thing happened to me at North Carolina was going to geography class and sitting on the front row and turning around, seeing a sweetheart with an afro about this big. And I followed her out of class and I gave her my resume and all of that. I was so scared and everything. I was to meet her. I'm still scared. She's a first grade teacher, but she's been my bride for 34 years. And so being married to Melanie for 34 years, and now we have 3 grown children, 2 daughters, and then we have a son. He was just a chaplain at the University of Illinois football and basketball team. Now he's moved back to Kansas City with 2 granddaughters, and I'm excited. They're 4 and 2 years of age. Little Cora Penelope turned 2 years of age today, in fact. And so they were born here. In Champaign, Illinois, so we have an affinity for this great state and all of that. And if you see my briefcase out there in the foyer, it has a big Illini, a big eye on it, if you will, and it has chaplain. So my son gave me all of his sweatsuits and all that and paraphernalia when he was working there. But I'm thankful for my 3 grown children, but my bride and I kept having fun. And so now we have Chance, he's 14 years old. So I'm 56 with a 14-year-old, and David was asking me about him. He said, is he in high school now? I said, yes, he's a freshman and all of that. But Chance's greatest fear last year when he was in junior high school was when the bus would stop in front of our home in Kansas City, and he would go out and get on the bus. But he would leave before me, and so I would still have my bathrobe on with my coffee and my slippers to go out and get the Kansas City Star. And so I said, Chance, Daddy's gonna stand out here with you and say hi to the bus driver and wave at your friends. And he's like, no, Dad, whatever you do, get back in the house. I said, let me stand on the porch. And he's like, no, Dad, get in the house and turn the light out in the foyer because it would be kind of dark and all that. So I would love messing with him and all of that. But anyway, I believe God gave us Chance when he did. We were 41 years of age. He was born at Mount Sinai Hospital here when we lived in Lawndale community. But I know God gave us him to make sure that we would keep my fathering fresh, if you will. So we're just so thankful, but I come to you for these few moments today. The greatest thing I can do is not just to come and give another talk. I had the privilege to be on the White House Task Force for Responsible Fatherhood and Healthy Marriage. I've been privileged to speak to every NFL team. Chaplain with the Cowboys when Coach Tom Landry was there. But one of the greatest blessings that I received in my life is my own father, who was there in Washington, D.C. when another father shared his dream on an August hot sweltering day, the 28th of August, 1963. When he shared that he would love to live in a country one day where his children are not judged by the color of their skin, content of their character. My father had character, and he died on the same day as another mentor, Coach Tom Landry of the Dallas Cowboys. Both of them were 75 years of age. Both of them were men of God. But both of them were married to their brides for 50 years. My dad, like no fathers, there's no perfect dads. My dad was not perfect, but Dad was there. And we know through our research that every child needs a father, grandfather, or father figure. That's why I'm proud of David and Kevin and all of you, that you would give the children a chance to write about their daddy. Sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not so great. But I'm so very thankful, and I was sharing with Alan here that my dad never wrote a book like mine, and the books are out there on the table and they're $15, and we don't want to send any of those books back to Kansas City, so y'all buy all the books. But there's some good stuff in the books, and the reason why is I talk about our research at the National Center for Fathering. But I talk about my dad, and before any of that research was written by my predecessor, Dr. Ken Canfield, and myself, and all the great people at the center, and all the people that are involved in fathering, my dad was living it. And he was innately a smart man. He would write. And Alan is from Pennsylvania, and my dad even wrote when he was in high school, he wrote down what his favorite food was and all this. He was that way. And he wrote his favorite state was Pennsylvania. I only wish he was still living so I could ask him why. But he was a wonderful dad, and but I think about it, many of the children in our world today, in the richest and most powerful country in the world, I had the privilege to be a chaplain in Seoul, Korea, the 88 games, and the people would walk up to you, Hanyaseo, Kamsamnida, Yoboseo. They said, where are you from? I said, America. They said, oh, USA, #1 country. But in the richest, the most powerful country in the world, 25 million children will go to bed tonight without their biological father in the home. And when that takes place, the child is more likely to be poor, more likely to drop out of school, more likely to be involved in crime. You read the Tribune or the Sun-Times today, and Alan spoke about it there at the station. They get the worst of the stories and report them. But when a daddy is not there, that's what takes place. And when daddy's not there, a girl is more likely to be pregnant as a teenager. But if a daddy's there, just being there, not perfect, those statistics flip-flop. Yeah. If they have a father figure or a grandfather in their lives. I'm glad that daddy was there to school me up. But I'm not a racist, but it is a fact that 1960, African-American babies born out of wedlock, 25%, 1960. 2011, 72%. I speak to these NFL teams and I ask them, how many of you don't know your dad? And a lot of hands go up. And then I say, well, what's a word that would describe your dad? Some of them say faithful and trusting and worker. But then there are those, I was speaking to the University of Houston's team a few months back. They were in the room and I said, what's a word to describe your dad? There was a white kid sitting on the front row and he says, Mom. That's what he thinks of. His mother raised him. We're not belittling women, but it is a fact that we have male and we have female, and we're gifted in different ways. Daddy was there for me, mother was there. But then the other guys on the team, they started sharing these words: cheater, loser, coward. They have anger. The president of these United States that came from your town here in Chicago, it's there in Washington, Mr. Obama, and he says, Kerry, my daddy gave me a basketball and then he was gone. I've only met him twice. And so he has what you call a father wound. But his grandfather was his father figure. But if it's anything, I don't know what he's going to do with health care and education and economics and jobs. But he does want to be a great dad for Malia and Sasha. And he wanted to meet young Chance, our 14-year-old, a few years back. And he said, Kerry, bring him here. I want to meet Chance. I've heard the Chance stories and all of that. And he wanted to meet my bride. So I took him and I said, Chance, you must go. You may meet your bride. They're not Malia. You'll have security the rest of your life. And all of it. You won't have to pay for gas or anything. But we go there, and President Obama walks in, and I'm wondering, Chance was 12 then, and I'm wondering, how is he going to respond meeting a president? I didn't do that with my dad. I was just glad to stand outside the fence and look in. But he was there, and I'm watching him, and he was just fine, and President Obama met my bride, and then he walks over to Chance, and Chance, it's great to meet you. It's an honor to meet you, sir. And Mr. Obama, he said, well, so Chance, what are you doing this summer? And Chance just, he moved back, and then he said, well, just hanging out with my friends. And his mother, who's the first grade teacher, said, no, he's taking piano lessons, he's taking tennis lessons. He was running down the resume. She was. And President Obama put his hand in front of her and said, no, that's fine. He's just chilling. That's cool. He's hanging out with his friends, you know? And that's what Malia and Sasha are doing. So later on, Chance said, see, Mom and Dad, you don't have to impress the president. So anyway, Chance is taking care of his daddy and mom. But why do I say that? The greatest thing I can do today is not to give another talk, but to be a man of God, a husband, and a father. Absolutely. And with those 5 grandbabies, and I have one on the way, and I had a daughter that finished the great Lane Tech High School in this city. And I remember her matriculating there at that largest high school in the country under one roof. But I enjoy being a dad and a granddad. I get early flights so I can get back to hang out with my grandbabies. And they call me Peepaw and all of that because I used to go peep-ah, peep with the oldest grandbaby. And so she started calling me Peepaw. So all the other ones, I got all these stories. But let me get to what I'm saying. And that is this right now. In the richest and most powerful country in the world, I shared those statistics, but those players, many times I'll look them right in the face, and I did this with young Kelly today. If your daddy was here today, sweetheart, he would be so proud of you. And he would be so excited for the way that his daughter has developed. And I think of my children as well. But I think about these athletes, even as I look them in the face, and those big mammoth bodies of 6'4", 6'5", and 280, 290, 300 pounds and more. And I said, come here. And I looked them in the face, in the eyes, and tell them that I love you and that I'm proud of you. And they literally began to weep. They never had a dad, many of them, to tell them that. But I think about it, and it's in Scripture, and I did not come to preach to you today, but in the last verse of the Old Testament, before God spoke to Paul and Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all the other homeboys, before he told them what to write, in the Old Testament, the last verse, in Malachi 4:6, he says, I want to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the fathers, or the land will continue to be cursed. We can balance the budget from the White House to the outhouse, and we can vote Republican or Democrat or Independent. But if we don't have the hearts of the fathers, which the Illinois Fatherhood Initiative is doing, where they can write about their dads, and where you all are taking y'all's programs and what you're doing here, a lot that you learn through the National Center for Fathering and great organizations that David and all that you all have started here and what you're doing, you're literally changing the culture. But I think about this, through our research, we found 3 things clearly come out of a good dad, of a dad just being there. 3 things clearly come out, and that is this right here. Our research of thousands of fathers clearly comes out. Number 1, and I think about it, Alan, you said it moments ago, they are loving. They love the child, and they love the child's mother, and they respect her. Even if they're divorced, they still respect that mom. It clearly comes out. They're loving. Chance, my boy, when he was 10, he came to me one time. He said, Daddy, Marcellus played football. That's his older brother who's 28. And I remember when Chance was on the way, he was at, his brother Marcellus was at camp. I was pastoring here, and he came home from camp, and I went to the church to pick him up as he got off the bus. And I said, how was your week? And he said, Daddy, I had a great week. How was your week? I said, it was a great week, son. But your mother is with child. And he said, what, Dad? I said, Mom is pregnant. He said, no, quit kidding, Dad. And I said, no, she really is. He said, ooh, gross, Dad. Y'all still do that? So it gave me privilege to talk to Chance. Not about the birds and the bees, but how the real deal comes down. But anyway, to Marcellus. But then Chance comes, and now we have Chance. And Daddy, he came to me a few years back, and he said, Daddy, Marcellus played football. You play football. I don't like football. And I'm thinking, like, son, you're going to strap on something. We play ball. But anyway. The next day, he went with me to speak to the Kansas City Chiefs, and some of you heard this story with Jared Allen, who now plays with the Minnesota Vikings. He came over to Chance that night before the game, and he shook Chance's hand. Chance, you gonna play football? You gonna play for the Chiefs? And Chance goes, no, I don't like football. I'm never gonna play football. And all this, I'm like, Chance, don't say that. This is Daddy's job, son. But anyway, you like those gym shoes? Hey, you gotta, but anyway. But a day or so later, he came to me again. He looked me right in the eyes, and he didn't move his eyes. And he said, Dad, do you like me and love me, although I don't like football? I said, son, if you never touch a ball, you're your daddy's seed. I love you, son, just like you are. And he plays tennis, and I'm 56, and my knees ache, but I have to go out there and I play tennis. But not only that, but they're loving a dad, not perfect, but they love the child. Research shows this, but then they coach their children. They don't just go out on the field and coach when they're playing ball, but they're aware and they're involved in their children's lives. That's the way my daddy was. He coached my brother and I. How many of you saw the movie Remember the Titans or whatever? Any of y'all see that movie? Anyway, well, in real life, I was privileged to be on the team that lost to the Titans in the state championship game. I was a 16-year-old sophomore. I'll never forget it. The Titans really beat us 27-0. It wasn't like the movie where they beat us on the last play of the game. We had the blue uniforms in the movie where it said our team was all white or whatever. We had 8 African Americans, and we all played the skilled positions. But anyway, I know some of the women. The Chiefs, they don't get it when we speak to them either. But anyway, but I'll never forget, the same year we lost to the Titans, my white coach got in my face about something. I go to the cafeteria, blacks on one side, whites on another. And my black friend said, Kerry, don't play for that racist coach. He got in my face about something. They said, don't play for that racist coach. Don't be an Uncle Tom. And I said, that's right. But I went home, and my daddy was there. And I said, Daddy, I'm going to quit the team. I'm not going to play for this racist coach. I'm not going to be an Uncle Tom. He said, son, your coach is not a racist, and you're not an Uncle Tom. Your name is Casey. You are a Christian. You know who you are. And your coach is not a racist. Your coach is getting in your face because he's checking out your character and your loyalty. He knows that you are a very good athlete. You are a sophomore now, but he's challenging you. Your coach, son, is the winningest coach in the state of Virginia at the time he was. And he will win with or without you, son. But he's checking out your character and your loyalty. He's going to use you over the next 2 years to win state championships, and you'll be all state and all of this. And he was totally right. And Daddy told me that. From when Daddy told me that to when the movie came out, it was 30 years. There are decisions that we will make today, not tomorrow, that would dictate where we will be or our legacy will be. My daddy told me that. You need the team more than the team needs you. And I went back. Daddy used to tell me, son, if you're going to lead the orchestra, you have to turn your back to the crowd. And I remembered as I went back, I only wish they lived to see that movie. And it's a new movie out called Courageous. And it's a fathering movie, and they took research from the National Center for Fathering to make that movie. Michael Catt and all the people that produced that movie are friends of ours. And when the DVD comes out, this gentleman that's standing up here before you with his nose bigger than Bill Cosby and all of that, and and with these thick lips that I would go home this evening and smother my pride with, and I always wonder how white people kissed anyway. Anyway, I'm kidding. Y'all don't have to invite me back. I'm just joking. You all be secure in who you are. God didn't make a mistake when he made us. But here's the thought. Some of you were going to sleep in the back, I know. But I went back and we played against the Titans that year. But I think about how Daddy was there for me. But they're loving, but then they coach their children. I think of the 5 children that David and his bride have. But David has to be a great coach. He has to do all his finance and all that he does in business. And he has to bring home the big dollars. But when it really gets down to it, his children just really need and want their dad and their mom. And they'll know how to function as a man and all of this by watching their dad, watching their mother. But they love, but then they coach. But then not only that, but they model for their children. That's what a daddy does. My dad, I think a few years ago, Whistling Straits. I do not like to play golf, but I'm a CEO, so I must go play golf and chase that little white ball around. But anyway, we go to Whistling Straits and Bandon Dunes, and we go to Ireland and all these places and play golf. It's like 20 or 30 of us or whatever. We'd love for you to come and join us. But anyway, Carrie, we're gonna play 36 holes the first day. They're just thrilled. I'm like depressed. But anyway, we're Whistling Straits. I'm dressed very nice. I look like I can play. I do okay, but I'm not in love with the game. So one day I got my bag early there at the club. And then a gentleman got out of a nice, sleek automobile. And he comes over to me. And he says, "Sir, will you get my bag for me?" And all of this, and I smiled, and the people at Whistling Straits, they said, "No, he's the CEO, National Center for Fathering. He's playing golf here." And they were explaining it because they knew that I would probably sue them and get enough money to give Illinois Fatherhood Initiative money, and everybody would get paid. But anyway, I kept walking. My friend, Peter Spokes, who is gone to be with the Lord now, used to be my chief operating officer. He came over to me, "Jerry, why didn't you give him your resume and all of this?" I said I could not. Because during the 60s, during the civil rights days, I saw my father called the N-word. But my dad would look at me and say, "Well, son, evidently they don't know my name." He knew who he was. Illinois Fatherhood Initiative and what you're doing, and the essays, and all of the schools that are here. You're literally letting the young people know, and fathers throughout the state of Illinois, to realize who they are. They have a priestly name, father, leadership, there to love, to coach, and to model. But then championship fathering, it's in the book, and I must take my seat. I have tons of notes, and I wanted to bring all of the words off of the page and to share with you all of the thoughts that are in my mental skies here. This 2.5-pound sponge called a brain, but when a daddy's there, the young person will realize that they can't sit around all day and watch all that TV and play all that Nintendo and watch all that video, and then their mind turns to Play-Doh, and then when they pass out the real dough, they can't get any because they're nothing but a dodo. But the point is this. Fathers will model for their children. But then their children, and it's in the book. I wish I had more time. But they called, and David and Kevin called, and they asked me if I believe in free speech. I said, yes, I do. They said, come and give one. And so here I'm here. But the rest of the story is in the book. You get the book, you'll get the story and the conclusion. But then in championship fathering, loving, coaching, modeling. But then you encourage a child that does not have a dad. Who are the kids in your neighborhood that you know is not just in the urban areas but suburbia where daddies are making money driving nice, fine, sleek automobiles, big homes, but are not involved in their children's lives. We have to be there for them. Love to coach and model. Right next door, I have Kyle and Brett and Ryan and their beautiful mom who has a great job. And they're white, but their daddy left when they were little boys. Guess who they call Dad? And I have to be there for my guys. Their birthdays, and when the girls break up with them, I'm there. You're going to be okay. It's going to be fine. It's good as now, not when you got married when she left or something. How do you know this? Because my dad, when the girl broke up with me, I thought it was the end of the world. Daddy said, son, it's going to be okay. And I'm like, Pop, I'm in love. And Daddy schooled me. I'm so glad I didn't marry that homegirl. But I have one that's been with me for 34 years. School teacher, handles the budget, counts my peanuts. You don't have to have $1 million to be a millionaire. Yeah. And what I'm saying is this, because of the way she does the budget, we can have a little bit, and we're having fun from the word go. It's something under the tree for everybody in December. What am I saying? And that is this as I come to a close again. But thinking about this right here, love, coach, and model, encourage a child without a dad, but then there are other fathers that are out there that are ready to drop out of the game. They're ready to walk out of their children's lives. They're ready to turn their bride in for a newer and a younger model, because we get older and things change, and it's like I don't like her anymore. But I want to challenge you. I don't know where you are, if you're a divorced dad, traveling dad, or whatever. If it's hard in your marriage, it gets hard in mine. I'm not perfect. My bride is not perfect. But whatever you do, if you can, stay there for your children, even when it's hard. But even if, well, stay there even for the dog. You hear me? Chance needs his mom and dad. I wish I had more time to share today, but God bless you and thank you for listening. Be a championship dad. Thank you for what you're doing. I congratulate you. Illinois Fatherhood Initiative, your essay contest. I'm proud of what David and Kevin and all of you have been doing for years. Let those young people keep writing about their dad, opening their hearts. And then we'll have wonderful dads and moms and marriages. We can change the destiny of the richest, the most powerful country in the world. You'll see those little cards. I don't know if they're on your table, but sign up and be a championship father. Put it on the table out there and get a wristband and be a championship father. There's 65 million fathers in America. I want to just touch 10%. I read the book Tipping Point. And you don't need a lot of folks to start a movement, but 10% of 65 million is 6.5. What does that look like? Most men are 2.5 feet wide. The Chicago Bears are a little bigger, but shoulder to shoulder, from Boston Harbor to San Diego, California. That's what it looks like, and we can change the culture in this country and in the great city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless you.